Good afternoon, everybody. I want to talk to you today about changing out the rubbers and critical parts on your electromechanical pinball machine. This can apply to, any of the newer ones, or basically any machine, but I basically specialize in the old EM electromechanical games. Today we're going to be doing my 74 Magnetron. This game's kind of special to me, and I'm going to just say right off the bat, not that it's an amazing game or anything. It's a good game, don't get me wrong, but this is actually the first electromechanical game I ever bought, back in around 2006, and I let it go for a while, actually, to a buddy of mine, and he had it for the past 11 years or so, and Magnetron is back home with me now. So it's a very good example of a taken care of game, at least by the previous owner. Anybody that had it shopped out got a couple little things. I got some paint flake there, a little bit there. That's about it as far as the wear spots. I'm going to go ahead and touch those up. Not in this video, but I'll have to go back and show you that in another one. But I want to hit the start button right now to light up the playfield a little bit. This video is going to be basically geared towards those of you that have games that we're going to assume they're at least mostly working. All your switches and everything are working. You maybe got a couple light bulbs out here and there. We can go through that. I might have one or two bulbs out, so we can go over that. But this is going to be focused on how to take a game apart, how to switch out the rubbers. If you're not aware, all these white bands that are around everything, those are the rubbers, and what happens over time is they degrade and they become less bouncy, they become flaky, especially after 20, 30, sometimes longer years, and that leads to junk on your playfield, and your ball rolls around, tracks that all over, it starts tearing everything up. So it is important to change them out. I try and change them out every year or two. Some people would argue with me that's either too soon or not enough, but to each their own. This one came to me with a the white rubbers are still, they're pretty worn out, but the one, see the red rubber around the flipper bat here, it basically disintegrated and snapped off. That's common. You'll get one or two here and there, but then hopefully the people at least stop playing it and fix it instead of just try and play with the plastic. I just happen to have a set of flipper rubbers here. I don't try and keep a lot of them laying around because right now I basically work on my own games, and what's the point of them sitting if I'm not changing them out all the time? They just do the same thing as they would on the machine and get old. So we're going to focus on that, maybe throw in a couple extra goodies. And first I'm going to take you over here, because where do you get these rubbers from? Well, there's a couple places out there, but one of my favorites is the Pinball resource. Talk to Steve if you're doing an email. It's going to probably be Jimmy. Go on there, look his site over. If you can get part numbers off the site first and then call in, I'm going to tell you right now, Steve's an awesome guy. He'll take care of you, but he's old-fashioned. There's no credit cards, there's no whatever involved. I'll send you the parts, you send me a check. It's basically how he works, old school. If you call and get a busy signal, call him again. He's kind of a one or two man show over there. He's very busy. and just don't give up on him, because he won't give up on you. So we got a couple parts here. This is, if you tell them, hey, I need a set of rubbers for a Gottlieb magnetron in this case, they'll put it together for you. Everything that you're going to need right there, one convenient box. You don't have to do the measuring or anything like that. Okay, I'm going to show you even how to put some new leg levelers. These are very important, especially if you got worn out levelers. If you don't know what those are, those go on the bottom of your feet there, of the legs. So I change them out just because anything that can make the game more enjoyable. If you're changing out your levelers, if you're changing out your rubbers, why not throw in the levelers? But what's the sense in putting new rubbers and everything on if you got old rusty balls? Nobody wants rusty balls. Rusty balls tear up your playfield and strip the paint and everything else. It doesn't make for a good experience. It just makes for a horrible mess that sometimes, as old as these games are, you can't replace them. So then you got to start getting used anyway. Why not take care of your own? This one, I got two balls in my hand here. Kind of common. But one is my main ball. This game just happens to have a ball here. This is called a captive ball. It just gets hit back and forth. You see that little wear mark there? It's because that ball is dirty. We're going to get that cleaned up. If it gets rusty, it's going to start tearing that paint up. That's what happened over here. So always change your balls out. Lastly, on this part, what's cool about Steve at Pinball Resource is he always keeps us in the know. It's fall. It's pinball season. I mean, there's several shows going on around the country year-round, but right in a row, check out the Ann Arbor Pinball Vintage Flipper World. That's October 1st and 2nd. And then you also have White Rose Game Room Show, October 7th and 8th in Pennsylvania. And the one closest to me, always a great time, Pinball Expo. This one's near Chicago in Schaumburg. It's a little over an hour from me, but definitely try and get out there. Good times, a lot of, if you're familiar with the industry, a lot of meet and greet because Chicago is the hub of pinball and arcades. So come check out all if you can. Get to what you can. So I'm going to stop the camera, show you how to take this glass off real quick. We're going to get down to business. Alright, assuming you know the basics about your game, open the coin door. If you don't have a key, you need to drill it out. Check back through my videos. I've got a really good video of how to drill and replace this lock. I'm going to open that. The Gottliebs, we've got a lever right in here that you pull out. That's your lockdown bar. I don't know if you can see this. Let me flip this little screen around here. So you can see this. There's no gasket, no seal on that. It's actually called beer gasket, beer seal. We're going to put some of that on while we're here. Basically, if you put this on, this is metal. Somebody's playing your game like they used to do in the bars and everything else. What do they do with their drinks? They set them on your game. Set them up there. Whoops, knock it over. It dumps down in this area here. Gets this nice and rusty, drops down into your game. Makes a mess. So we're going to put a little gasket on there so when you push this down, if anything were to spill, it blocks at least a majority of it, so you got some time to clean it up. Anyway, set this aside. All the glass does is slide out. On most games, some older Bally's, the whole thing just picks up all together. Very carefully set that aside. That's tempered glass. If you know anything about tempered glass, you touch the edge just right, it's a million pieces. So, since we started the game, the ball's in the shooter lane. If it's not, of course I've got it on, you're going to reach down onto the apron here and just flick it over the shooter lane. Make sure you get all the balls out. If it's a multi-ball game, it could be 2, 3, or more. Take that, set it aside, put it in your pocket, whatever. This ball is actually new because I wanted to play the game. So this one is nice and clean. But let's see what happens when we take the other one out. I'm just sticking it in my pocket. I can set it aside, whatever. Okay, glass is out. Playfield's exposed, and you know, and everything's working. Now I've been playing this game a little bit, and it's not awful, but the rubbers are definitely worn. And when I had it in 2006, it hadn't been changed. Or I think it was maybe the shopping on it, that the rubbers were changed maybe a year or two before I got it, so it's been a while. I can almost guarantee they haven't been changed since me getting it back. This one was broke. If one is going bad, they're probably all starting to dry out, so we're going to do them all. We change positions and we'll get started. Something I want to throw in before we get into changing these rubbers out. There's a lot of people out there that will say, oh, the game is shopped, or recently shopped. I'm shopping the game. That's kind of a somebody that's out in the field doing this. That's kind of a term that's thrown around, and it seems to be pretty loosely. Changing the rubbers out is part of doing shopping. That's not shopping a game, so please don't get this confused. It is a part of it, and you can definitely throw that into a full shop. I mean, I'm just letting you know, beware, because sometimes people think, oh, the game has been shopped, it's been gone through. It's been gone through? Really? So you went and cleaned every switch? Part of shopping a whole game means getting it back to running 100%. Doesn't have to look like new, but it should function as it should. You know, maybe certain things could be better than others, but we're just changing out the rubbers, and we're going to clean and wax this playfield. Maybe we'll do a couple little extras. We'll check some light bulbs, but an actual shopping, at least in my eyes, some people are out there, they're gonna argue with me. That's fine. But a full shopping, to me, includes changing out your rubbers, replacing. If you're doing it for a customer, you replace all the lamps. You just keep all the extras. That way, you know you're never going to have a problem. If you're doing it for yourself, I just change light bulbs as needed, or if I want to change some things up. Okay, so rubbers, light bulbs. Clean and wax your play fields. You're going to get everything all cleaned up. Go through all your mechanical switches, all your contacts. Everything's going to get cleaned. Everything's going to be adjusted as it should. That means you're going to disassemble all these score rails up here. In this case, you got a 4-player game. Single player are the easiest. 4 players, I'm not going to say are the worst, because there's some bowlers and some other games and stuff like that that have a ton of score reels, but there's 16 in this case. This is a 5-digit score system. But little secret that I'm sure somebody's probably told you, usually this last zero is just a dummy. It's only a little section of the reel with the zero printed on it. That's good for you. Less work to do, bigger scores. So I'd have to disassemble, clean, adjust 16 score reels in this game. I'd go through all my coil sleeves. Coils are what activate anything that's moving mechanically. There's coils involved. That means every coil, every stepper, everything, steppers, disassembled, cleaned, lubed. Coils, at bare minimum, replace the sleeves. They're only a couple cents, but they can be time consuming. You never oil those, but that's a whole other video. This one is basically just concentrating on replacing the rubbers. And like I said, with the full shop, you're going to go through all the switches, all the coils, everything. You're going to get new levelers regardless. You're going to make your buttons function as they should and as comfortably as they should. You know, you're going to give the thing a full once over. This one, I like my games, I switch back and forth. Sometimes I like to have the coin mechs working where I have to put in coins. Sometimes I like free play. I don't know, I get bored, so I switch it up. But anyway, I just don't want you guys to, I want you to be informed as to what's what. We're just changing out the rubbers, cleaning, waxing, make the gameplay enjoyable. Otherwise, if it's not enjoyable, what? It's going to sit in a corner. I don't want you to put your games in a corner. If you don't want your game, give it to me. I'll take it. I'll put it where it belongs. So, let's go through this. Okay, what do you need to change these out? I like to use this as a 5/16 nut driver. It fits these little, it's supposed to. I could be lying. Maybe that one's just super, yeah, it's just super loose. A screwdriver. I just happen to have a little pocket screwdriver here. And occasionally, see this fancy tool? Let me turn this little screen around. This little fancy tool is called a pal nut removal tool. On Gottlieb's, anyway. This is just a piece of metal with a notch in it. Sometimes these little acorn nuts don't come loose, so this comfortably slides under here and grabs the hex that's on the post, so you can take these off easily, just like so. You can use a really thin wrench, maybe a pair of little needle nose pliers if you don't have it. You can pick this up at Pinball Resource too if you like. It's for any of them, but Gottlieb is known for having these little acorn nuts on top of the post here, and these posts don't always stay put. So that aside, another little fun fact, this is just a pocket screwdriver. Notice it's just a flat blade, standard. Old Gottlieb's, you won't find any Phillips head screws. David Gottlieb didn't believe in putting Phillips head screws for whatever reason. But so if you see a Phillips screw in a Gottlieb, chances are that screw is an original. So all these little nuts and everything we're going to put aside. I have my box over here that my parts came in from Pinball Resource. Why not start at the top, work our way down? There's no reason for me to show you everything in real time. I'll get started on it. I'll fast forward the video. I mean, I'll show it, but it's going to be fast forwarded so at least you get the gist of what's going on. So if you have to, take pictures, you know, but if we take this off, this, oh, see, stuff drops. There's your plastic, the first piece. Nothing much to it. Set it aside so it doesn't get scratched off. The one side is smooth. The underside is where all the paint is, so don't set it and slide it around. Set that aside. Now, if you have to, take the pictures of the position of the rubbers. Just because a rubber is in a spot doesn't mean it's the correct one. You can go online. I think Pinball Resource also has the rubber charts. Looking very closely, this is a Wicco. That's a brand. Here, you probably can't see it. I don't know, well, there's a little tiny one on there. You can barely pick that up. That just means it's a 1-inch rubber. Like I said, doesn't necessarily mean it goes there, so don't just trust your rubber. Okay? Let's see the shape that they hold after time. Normally, those are round. They're always going to be round. So it shouldn't be holding that shape. That just means it's getting old. It's losing elasticity. So we got that. I'm just going to set them aside. I don't throw them away until I'm done. Here's this little guy here. Just roll these off. That's it. We're going to keep going. Happens too. I don't normally do this with the game on, but maybe the lighting is better. Look at all that crust. Sometimes if it's coming apart like that, I'll just leave the whole assembly, set it aside. I'm not putting it right back together because I want to go through how we're going to clean and wax this. Alright, if you're paying attention, I know this is the boring part of it. Everybody, a lot of people think it's exciting to be a pinball tech. I don't consider myself to be, but I guess I am because I work on my own games anymore. I got a couple guys out there that used to do most of the work for me, because not that I can't figure it out, but shortens the learning curve if I don't have to do it. If you're paying attention, remember how I said that the rubbers may not go just because you took them off, doesn't mean that's where they belong. These two outside ones have a one-piece rubber that goes all the way around, whereas the two of these in the middle have separate individual rings around the post. But you notice those kind also have the guides that are double-sided. Outside ones are single-sided, so when the ball's coming from this direction, you want it to bounce on something, right? So just keep note of all that stuff. I mean, be observant. Think logically. You know, I don't know if the camera's picking it up. You got come here. You got the little groove that's very, very common. It's on most games. A little groove that gets worn in by the ball. I'm not so concerned about it. I can't drive my finger down in there or anything. But I'll polish over it. That can be sanded out if you were doing a big restoration or something. This is called your rebound rubber. Let me see if I can reach over and zoom in. This is your rebound rubber. Most of the time, you can just roll it off of there. This is a heavier chunk of rubber, and these get very dead over time. When they harden, the ball comes up, it doesn't bounce back and forth. It's like hitting a brick. It just almost comes to a stop and barely does anything. Set that off to the side. Don't put it next to your new one, because if it's not all that old, sometimes it's hard to tell. But I'll show you that when we put it back on, the difference in the sponginess. Back of it out. Every time. It's not awful, but it is. See that you can barely pick up the specks on there. It's basically rust starting to form. And as that rips back and forth in this little groove around this horseshoe here, it's gonna tear that up. So we're gonna set that aside. Unless they're super rusty, I hold on to these. I don't put them back in games, but I hold on to them for whatever reason. I don't know. I just save stuff a lot of times. That was under a pop pumper, so it comes down and does have a ring on it that shoots down. So it not only makes noise, it grabs you too. By the way, if you're missing any of these little acorn nuts, you can put a standard one on, but it doesn't look nearly as nice. You can also get these from Pinball Resource too. These are also available. I did take off the slingshots. Now just beware when you're touching these, this little kicker here, that gets triggered by these switches. They will give you a little high five here. So, get that. When you see me checking all these, I'm just making sure none of my posts spin. I want those tight to the board. Checking my bulbs. Because nothing's more annoying than when you put the thing back and you got a flicker or more problems than what you had when you started. That sucks. So down here we got the flippers. These just, the rubbers peel right off. These are actually brand new as of, well, I just put them on about 2 days ago. So I'll probably use them again. Just double check. Rings laying around. Okay, we're gonna get into a clean and wax. All right, let's talk about a couple products that I like to use to clean, wax, maintain your playfield. Notice I said I like to. Most of them are pretty popular. You're gonna have people commenting stuff they use. Great. It's pretty much kind of gonna be the same anyway. Anyway, starting with alcohol. It's good for an all-around just cleaner. Get the dirt, get the junk off. Don't use anything water-based. It soaks into the wood and you could get problems later. Naphtha. This is also good for a deep clean. These two things are flammable. When I'm wiping it down, just in case, I definitely try and turn it off. Turn off your machine. Why have more problems? Nobody needs a fire. I'm kind of accident prone, so I definitely don't need it. Or if you hit one of these switches, it creates a little arc, a little spark. So turn off your machine, because I don't want to be responsible for you starting your hair or your house or your game on fire. Very popular, Novus 2 fine scratch remover. This works very well. You know, this playfield is it's actually in really good shape. It's a little bit dirty. You know, it's definitely worth going over. But some playfields are atrocious, and it's definitely something to see if you can get it back to a nice shine. Definitely a good before and after shot is always nice. When it's a deeper clean like that, I definitely use the naphtha. I'll even get into a little bit of the magic eraser. I don't have any here with me because I'm not going to use it. I don't need to on this game. But you cut that up in a little 1 or 2 inch sections so you could get all in there. It's a real fine, it's like a melamine foam, which is a super fine sandpaper, but that'll get the really deep cleaning going on. I don't need a super deep clean on this game. But that's usually what I'll use the naphtha for, as well as the magic eraser. And you still have to go through, because that magic eraser will clean. It will leave a white haze. You'll see it. I've got a couple other videos out there where I have to use it. So, you know, check out the other videos if you like. So right now I'm going to set this aside because I don't really need it. I'm going to hang on to the Novus, and then when we're all done, you get yourself a good carnauba wax, and it has a good smell to it. Don't get the cleaner wax, because that's where it's got a cleaner. You just kind of defeat the purpose of what you're doing. You want the wax to put that coat on, so technically the ball is sliding around on a coat of wax and not on the actual wood of the playfield. I got my application pad for the wax. I mean, you can use a cloth if you want, but they already give you this. Why not use it? Once that dries, we're going to go over and get these microfiber cloths. You can get these anywhere. I think this is just a cheapy pack from Harbor Freight, you know, something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set all this other stuff aside. Okay, I'm going to give a quick rub down. Remember I said shut this game off. I'll start at the bottom just because that's where my camera's facing. I'm not dumping it on the playfield. I'm putting some on the cloth. I don't even really like to set it on the playfield when I'm working because I have a tendency of knocking things over. But I'm holding on to it for camera purposes here. But let's say I'm going to divide it. Let's say these two bottom stand-ups. I'm going to work on this lower part first while you're on camera here. Then I'll move up, I'll get a midsection, and then the top. Why not be methodical? That way you don't miss things as easy. I'll probably get interrupted at some point or have to stop the camera. Then I have to go back and watch where I left off. I'm just going to get all in here, clean the dirt out. Dries nice and fast. Sky's the limit with this stuff. I'm just doing a quick cleaning and wax and re-rubber. But all this, the metal parts, I mean, you can take them off, you polish them up, you can do whatever you want, man. It's your time and possibly your game. This doesn't just apply to Magnetron or Duotron, which is the same game, two-player version, but to most any games. Some are brand specific and they have their own ways of doing things. Some are model, but this is just a general overview that I may be working on this and you may be working on a totally different game, but it's all kind of the same. Big box of relays and switches with a pretty top. Without the artwork, the game's not that fun. Okay, I'm just looking it over. I got a pretty decent initial clean on it. I'm feeling it. Feeling if I've feel anything different, if I feel chunks of rubber or dust floating around, kind of wipe that off. Alright. Now we move on for another cleaning. Novus 2. This says, if you were to read this, Novus 2. There's a Novus 1 and a Novus 3. 1 is, I think, the most aggressive. 2 is a happy medium. Fine scratch remover restores original appearance to plastics. Yes, it's initially made for plastics. And it works very good on the newer games with the coated playfield. This is basically just plywood with a small clear coat and some wax. That's why these get torn up. The newer games that are super fast moving and everything else, those are all, there's actually a full layer of mylar or plastic over it. But this stuff still works. It works pretty well still. It works better on plastics though. So I'm going to show you up here. You don't actually have to put it on the rag, but I'll just a little bit. Don't go overboard with it. If you're reusing your bottle, I'm going to tell you, if you watch one of my other videos, you might have to take a pin, clean this out. I did the squeeze too hard and it dries up in there. It leaves a plug. And when I finally blew that pin out, it just blew a huge puddle out all at once. That sucked. But close it up, clean it off. It's kind of like wax, just put a thin layer. You'll see the haze. You don't have to get super into it. I mean, it's more of a cleaner, but a real thin layer for most applications. See, this stuff isn't hard, it's just time consuming and kind of tedious. And I'm just giving you the nickel tour. Like I was saying, with the full shopping and everything else, to me that includes rebuild the pop bumpers, whether it needs it or not, do a flipper rebuild kit, make them as strong as possible, all kinds of stuff. That's why it starts adding up, starts getting expensive. So if you learn how to do this yourself, well, Forrest Gump said when it comes to money, it's good. That's one less thing to worry about. That's on there. I'm going to let it dry maybe about 10 minutes just to get that full drying effect on there. And we'll wipe it off and then we'll put wax on it. One thing I'd like to show you while we're here, we have the plastics off. If nothing else, you're already in here. Let's take, for example, this slingshot. This is what actually comes out and hits the rubber. It would come across here, hits the rubber, knocks your ball around. These things, these are your switches. One here and one here. They both do the same thing. But what the switch is, if the camera will show in here, See that circle right there? That little pad? That's one half of the switch contact. And this side has the other one. And you have this metal, this stiff metal blade in the middle. That does two things. Basically supports the contact and separates them, but it also keeps them from just bouncing around once they're hit, so your score's not going wild. When the ball hits the rubber, it pushes this in, that makes contact and turn through a coil, a solenoid basically, that shoots this back out. Happens super fast, but what happens is these contacts get dirty. Mine work fine, but I'm in here, I got a super fine file. Usually I just take a little nail file, a metal. I don't take an emery board because that leaves all kinds of dirt and dust. You can get either a flex stone, which you can get from Pinball Resource or something. I'll just clean these off. Normally I'll pinch it together, but I'm holding the camera. But see that little bit of shine? I barely touched it. I just want to get those contacts. Put a little bit of shine back on them. Just do this. Look at that. I'm not taking it a lot. I'm not getting aggressive with it. Just cleaning the dirt off, basically. Barely touching it. But basically I'm going to do these two switches, mirror image over here. I can get these stand-up targets while I'm here and the plastics are off. I got some on this game, got these little this is the switch that hides under these chrome brackets, whatever. Little 10-point switch. One there, and these stand-ups in the corner. I'm just going to knock those out while I'm here, because I can. You don't have to, that's just a bonus. So, we're still waiting on this Novus to dry. I mean, it's pretty much dry, I just want to make sure. I'm going to clean these up, we'll get this Novus off. Through the magic of the camera, the Novus is dry. I've gone through, cleaned out the exposed switch contacts that I just showed you. I didn't pick up the playfield and go through all that, you know, nothing heavy duty. It's here, why not take care of it? So just like a wax, we're gonna take this Novus off of here. You'll notice it start shining again. Use light sources to your advantage, that you can check all angles. And I got a couple overhead lights that are real close here where I used to have my pool table. Now that I moved everything, I need to move the lights because I just keep hitting my head on them. Now is the time, if you're going to touch up paint and you're good at that, now is the time. Once you get this Novus off of here. I'm not going to do it just yet, which is kind of dumb, but I'm just trying to show you for purposes of video. I need to take care of that. Check out Joe's Video Games. My buddy Ron, he's real good at matching paint. His videos are way better. I haven't done any on paint because I suck at matching colors, but I will try. How am I going to get any better if I don't try? I'll work at it. And besides, it's my game, it's not a customer's game, so I can only complain about it to myself. But I'm gonna wax over it right now, and when it comes time to paint, I'm gonna go and use the naphtha, take that wax off. I'll paint that, touch it all up, and I'll re-wax it. You want to get all this stuff up because you don't want the ball picking it up and tracking it, and you'll notice because the ball will start looking cloudy even though it's brand new. It's because you have crap still left on the playfield. Like I said, nobody wants dirty balls. It does damage, and nobody's attracted to dirty balls. Using my light source, check for cloudiness, just as you would in waxing. That means you didn't get it. So I'm kind of crawling all over this thing. It's looking really good. Alright, it's been a few days. Where we left off, just cleaning it with the Novus. So what we're going to do is put some wax on there. Hopefully that glare is not too much from the lights. So we've got, I like this. I like the McGuire's. There's a nice shine. It smells good. And I said it before, but this is a carnauba wax. It's not a cleaning wax. You don't want a cleaning wax. You just cleaned it. So put a little bit on the pad. If you've ever waxed a car, kind of the same procedure. But I like to split the playfield at least in two. So we'll do this bottom part, let's say below the hole. We'll come across. Don't have to be super thick. I mean, I like it a little bit heavy. Some people barely put any. If you're gonna wax, if you've got a modern pinball and it has the coated playfield with coated mylar, if you're gonna wax it, you don't need super heavy. This, I'm driving it down into the wood, basically. So, love that smell. Very distinct. This not only protects the playfield, but it makes it where the ball slides around and basically glides over it like ice if you do it right. But I'll let that sit and we'll wipe it off. We'll do the same thing to the top half. Same procedure. You get the idea. But let's let that dry and we'll come back and get that coating off there. Alright, let's take this off. Clean cloth. Use the microfiber just because that's what I like. You want to get all this up, make sure there's nothing left because it will get on the ball and then it starts smearing it all over and making tracks. It makes everything dirty again by picking up old wax. I don't know if that's showing very good, but it's super shiny. But after I get all this on, I'll probably do one more coat of wax. You don't have to. I like to, just to ensure that I got all the spots. Or at least that makes me think that I did. I'm going to tell you right now, watch your fingers. These switchblades, they draw blood. It's a little razor blade, so just be careful. I didn't show it on camera, but I also did put some in the shooter lane. Why not start off on the right foot and let that ball just glide across the top surface of this. So there's the bottom half. I'm going to do the top half of the playfield, and then I'm going to put another coat on. Do the same thing. I don't want to make this video any longer than it really has to be, and I want you guys to watch it, not fall asleep. If you haven't already. Because let's face it, if you're watching this stuff, especially if it's a Friday or Saturday night, you're like me, you got nothing better to do and no real life. So if this is exciting to you, you're my kind of people. Alright everybody, we're back. And we've cleaned and waxed the top and the bottom of the playfield. It's nice and shiny. I don't know how well the camera's showing it. I got a couple of overhead lights here. I don't have a regular lighting setup. I just have my overheads and occasional portable lights. So I don't know how well it gets picked up until I actually put this video together. So we're getting ready to move on here, put our new rubber rings on. What I do suggest, because especially at least the games I work on are real old. See how these rubbers get shaped? This is pretty obvious that it went around a slingshot. Shouldn't be that shape, but that's what happens over time. Anyway, they do make charts available to show exactly what's supposed to go where. And the reason I'm saying don't just slap anything on is that just because you pulled something off doesn't mean it was the right size. Somebody may have had it laying around and used it in a pinch, whatever. But I got these rings, this whole new set from, I got these from Pinball Resource, Steve and Jimmy over there. Steve you'll talk to on the phone. I believe Jimmy is in charge of all email orders. And I just give them the name of the game. They specialize in Gottlieb. They have the licensing for everything that you need. I did not order one for this game, and nor did I really look for a printout, but each game comes with a generic image of the playfield, and it will tell you what rubber ring size goes where. But in ordering, you don't necessarily have to know all that. I just called up and say, hey Steve, I got a magnetron, give me a rubber kit for it. So that's going to come with all my necessary rubbers. Here's a couple for the flippers. Remember, if you want things like these flipper rubbers, for example, if you want a different color, if he's got them, he'll send them. But just be specific on the colors. The rubbers also include, this is a plunger tip and a rebound ring. You can order everything as a set, or you can order, if you have one that breaks and you just did it, you don't need a whole set, you can order individual rings if you like. But I always try and keep just a couple, maybe one or two extra of every one. I don't like to leave these laying around because what's the point unless I'm doing a bunch of services and everything else, which I'm not at that point yet. Every game that I've worked on so far in my videos, it has been my own personal games. So I don't keep a lot of extras around. I don't need them sitting in a corner dry rotting. I'd rather get new, fresh rubbers every time. So this is your rebound rubber. Got a lot more flex and spring than this one. This one's like a rock. Let's see if there's a sound difference. A little bit. Camera doesn't really show, but I can tell this is new. It's flexible. This is the old one. It's damn near concrete. But anyway, that's really all I have to say on ordering these things. So you got different sizes. A lot of them will say Wicco. That's a brand. And directly across from where it says Wicco will be the size. Sometimes it's hard to read. If you don't see it on there, kind of run your finger along it, you'll feel it. And then you'll know where to look. This one says 1 inch. This one says 2 inch. Obviously this is in between. These are 5/16, these little guys. But anyway, all we're going to do at this point is go back and reinstall what we took off. So not a whole lot to it. They make a Novus 1. You can also get this at places like Pinball Resource, stuff like that. It's it says anti-fog, anti-static dust repellent. I use this to clean off all my plastics, top and bottom. It doesn't hurt the paint on these, but especially on the bottom side where the printing is, still be careful. So I wipe all those down. We've got the two coats of wax on the playfield and cleaned it off real nice. I should have gone back and painted this first. I'll save that for another video. Kind of wanted to get through this one. But some other things you can do just to make your game better. You know, if you want to go that far, if this is good enough for you, hey, it plays, whatever. You're not big into it, but if you've made it this far through the video, you know, it might be something that you like. It's going to be more enjoyable. You know, set it up for you. And start with little things. Your instruction cards. A lot of times they're faded and worn or missing altogether. You can find these usually online, or at least something to print it out. This is just heavy cardstock. I need to get the one. Notice that there's a bunch of different cards sometimes for the same game, depending on how it's set up. This says 3 balls per player. I like most of my electromechanical games set to 5 ball. It's just the way they used to do it, unless the game is super easy and it's a multiplayer. And if you got 4 people playing a multiplayer game, it might take a while. So sometimes I drop that down to 3. But I need to change this card out. Also, the right side usually has scores, or sometimes there's, you know, the vendor's business card or something like that. You can go in the back and adjust where you want your high scores. So this one originally was set for 47,000, and another replay for 58. You don't have to have any replays. You can unplug it all together. But I went back there. I changed it to one replay at 58 and the other one at like 82. I mean, it's kind of easy to hit 47,000, especially with the bonus. Something else you could do, just make sure all your switches are adjusted right. This one, I noticed the gate when it was active, if the ball went over too fast, this is your switch that will close the gate back off. You know, play with that, play with the switch under there. And I'll be showing videos on this stuff, but I'm just kind of summing it up. Your flippers, you can change the feel. You can change how far you push them in before they start activating. I'm gonna have a video on rebuilding the chimes because these can sound better. They're in there. I don't know how well this is gonna show, but there's my chime box right there. I'm gonna look for another video where I show you how to rebuild these and make them sound as nice as they can. Gottlieb's have some decent chimes, unlike one of the other manufacturers. I still have the original coin box and coin mix, so that's why I can put my quarter in. You know, polish up your legs and the game, the legs on the game too. Change your levelers out. They sit on the floor. A lot of times they get rusty or corroded, or some people don't realize that you can, you know, the game shouldn't be resting on the metal leg. There's little feet under there called levelers. You see my mess of parts under here. That's a bag of levelers. They run, I don't know, about $2 a piece. They come with the nut. Notice how they're installed. I'm going to change these out anyway, just because I like a new set of levelers. My front ones I like to screw all the way in. There's a hex nut that goes on the underside of the actual leg, not up here. It doesn't do anything up here. But I screw these all the way in the back. I like to put about as far up as I can. These are the 2-inch levelers. Newer games, newer solid state on up or whatnot, they have 3-inch levelers. So I guess if you want a real challenge on these games, get those. What else? Gottlieb. Closest so I can show you better. Gottlieb games. That's a coin return. This is your start button. Notice how it looks the same. When I get new Gottliebs, I like to change that out. So in this bag, I'll have another video, just a real quick one on, that's what it's supposed to look like. Get the little E-clip or the retainer with it. I got a whole box of them, so I didn't order one. But it just enhances the look. Polish up your coin door. Polish up your shooter rod, your plunger. You can even rebuild these. If it's sloppy and floppy like that, you don't want a floppy rod. These come with bushings. These are all rebuildable. You don't hear a lot of squeak, which is good. If it's binding up, how are you gonna play real nice with that? There's all kinds of stuff that you can do to make these things better. Make sure that your little railings are set at the right height, because over time they tend to sink or move around. That rail, I don't know if you can see it real well, should sit right in the middle of the ball. If it's too high or too low, it can make your ball jump over the rail. It can make it, you know, start wandering off in a different direction that's not intended. It can even make it jam up if it's not adjusted right. Go back and do your touch-up paint. Even take where these black circles are. If you're real good with a Sharpie, you can enhance those. I'm just kind of throwing stuff at it right now because I'm thinking about it as I go. You can take all your chrome and polish that up if you wanted. That's got some spotting in there. You can buff that out. All kinds of little stuff. But we put new rebound rubber, remember? We put all new rubbers all throughout the game. We got 2 new balls. This game just you play with the one and the other one stays there. It's a captive ball. Some games have a lot, you know, for multi-ball. Just other things that you can do. I'm sure I'm missing a lot, but I'll make other videos on this because this is way longer than I was hoping anyway. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave any comments or questions that you have. And check out some of my other videos if you would. And as always, it always helps to subscribe and hit the like button. I don't want to sound like everybody else out there, but I guess that's how you make it. I do this more or less for fun. I'm not necessarily trying to make money off of it. I just enjoy doing it. So, if you're still awake, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.